Professor Daniel Shaw is a professor of Latin American and Caribbean studies and much else besides. He is a prominent campaigner of the highest rank in the United States on all the good causes. And I'm glad to say, for the first time, he appears on the mother of all talk shows. Professor Shaw, thank you for joining us. The proximate reason for inviting you, though there are many others that we'll turn to, was what happened to you when you flew out from London from Palestine work just a couple of weeks ago. Kindly share it with the audience.
Yeah, George, how you doing? Thanks for the invite, and thank you as always for your unwavering resistance before these security states and all of the threats that they represent on this side of the Atlantic and on your side against our quote unquote constitutional rights. About a week and a half ago, I came back from London. I was at the Free Palestine Film Festival along with Ambassador Craig Murray, Chris Nynam, and other anti-war figures. I was one of the speakers on the panels. After that, I was doing Palestine solidarity work in Indonesia and East Timor and across Southeast Asia. Upon arriving back into the United States, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security detained me. Interrogated me. They confiscated my passport. They confiscated my telephone, my computer, everything I had. They made me empty my pockets. They told me I had no right to speak to my attorney. They told me I had no right to any phone call. So it became a waiting game, a battle of stubborn wills, and they were just prepared, it seemed, to abandon me there. So they would check in on me periodically. And they just kept asking questions after questions, somehow trying to link me back in London with something that would criminalize me or others. Amazing that we come together for peace and we come together to stop this genocide, but somehow we're the ones who are vilified, criminalized, and interrogated. It truly is shameful. The links across the West, whether it's Berlin, London, or Chicago, the links to which they have gone to protect their dirty little genocide, which has now expanded into the West Bank.
Indeed so. I'm wondering if London is a common denominator here. You may have a theory on it, maybe not. And it may be just as a coincidence, but coincidences are often just dressed up clues. The fact that Craig Murray, albeit in Edinburgh, that Kit Clarenberg, albeit in London, Luton, that Richard Medhurst were all detained at airports in Britain, but have never been charged, never mind tried, never mind convicted. How could they be? They're peace activists, people trying to stop a genocide. The facts are that airports are quite a dangerous place now for people like you and them to frequent. Is that part of the purpose, to make life so difficult that we'll all stay home and batten down the hatches, do you think?
I think it is, George. This is a widespread intimidation campaign. Just this past week, the United States returned back onto the college campuses. Already, Professor Catherine Franke at Columbia University, who went on Democracy Now! To denounce the IDF student chemical attacks against Palestinian protesters. Last semester, Catherine Franke has now been suspended. We have the case of Stephen Thrasher at Northwestern University, journalism professor. He was just suspended as well. His crime was trying to protect students from police when they attacked the encampment. Of course, Scott Ritter, well-known prolific critic of the U.S.-NATO proxy war on Russia and on Russia's borders and geopolitical strategic interests. So we're going through exactly what you all are going through over there. The West is in command of this genocide. They could shut down their military extension, which some call Israel, their massive jet carrier and parked dead center in the Middle East. They could shut it down at any moment. Instead, Biden and and the other officials here continue to send billions and billions and hundreds of billions of dollars to keep this Holocaust of human life going. And all of us here in the movement, all people of good consciousness, you mentioned a number of them, Sarah Wilkinson and Richard Medhurst. These are activists. These are people who are led by integrity, journalistic integrity, and honesty. And myself, as a professor of 20 years of South American and Caribbean Studies and International Affairs, we have no intention of being quiet after 76 years of ethnic cleansing and apartheid. And as your introduction laid out, all based on a house of cards, on lie after lie and propaganda. Lance's studies tell us that now the Palestinian death toll could be in the 250,000 range, but you'll never hear that or any of this suppression of our First Amendment rights on ABC or CNN or Fox. And I know because all of them have interviewed me. And some of them have interviewed me for 30 minutes. And if they can't get what they're searching for, which is an anti-Semitic soundbite, they don't even use any of the interview. It's happened to me probably 10 times now just in the past year.
Well, there's no doubt, to paraphrase Oscar Wilde, we are two countries now united by a common language. And that language is violence, imperial power, and security and intelligence cooperation. So before we dispense with it, what happened after your detention at the airport? Has your employer stood by you? Have your attorneys any avenues of redress? Or are you supposed to just write this off?
Well, my employer is long gone. I was fired the week of Easter. I was accused because of my outspokenness and activism and organizing in the streets of the Bronx and New York City. I was fired the week of Easter. So last semester, it was under the charges of being anti-Semitic because I critiqued the genocide. That is the alibi. That's the legal justification that they're using. My legal team, my lawyers are fighting this. I have every right to critique is this Israeli and Western genocide. But with John Jay College of Criminal Justice, my employer for almost 2 decades, who fired me, the president of the college leading the charge, she didn't want to go the way of the president of Harvard and UPenn, and we just saw the president of Columbia University, my alumni, was also just fired, even though she was at the beck and call of this genocidal cause of Zionism and did everything that she wanted. What John Jay College is trying to say is that I violated the civil rights. These are called Title VI investigations. They're saying that I'm a threat to the civil rights of Jewish students because I represent anti-Semitism. So I'm going to be fighting this FBI illegal detainment, the denial of my attorneys, as well as the unfair dismissal, which now happened about 5 months ago.
I said lastly, but here's another one. Were the questions intelligent questions, or were the questions being asked by a cop that didn't understand politics, didn't understand the difference, the ontology of everything, the definition? I ask because I'm interested in how high up the instructions on these kind of things come from.
Yeah, well, they do the good cop, bad cop thing. At one point, they try to be very complimentary and, wow, you've traveled to so many countries, and they invite you to speak. You must have so much information. They try to butter you up, and they say, well, what can we get you? We'll get you anything. And I say, well, how about my children? How about my freedom? Can you get me that? I didn't stand down and, of course, give them any information. I came right at them for being complicit in this genocide of 76 years and almost 11 months now. What they're really trying to do is what's called association mapping. So they want to try to trace my entire itinerary, whether it's in London or when I was in Athens or when I was in Jakarta. And they want to see if they can somehow, through the association mapping and the forensic dumping of my phone, they had my phone for over 3 hours. Who knows what they did with it? Even if I downloaded certain apps like Telegram or Signal, they could very easily put those apps back into the phone, send it off to one of their field agents, to one of their labs. What they're really trying to do then is connect me at being at the same place, at the same movie theater, at the same restaurant as who knows who. And then if they can associate that person with somebody else, they can try to bring whatever types of criminal charges. A lot of their questions were indeed highly ignorant. It smacked of the Orientalism that my former professor, the Honorable Edward Said, wrote about so eloquently. These agents are kind of like wannabe Lawrence of Arabia's. They claim to have some great knowledge of Jenin and in Ramallah and Gaza City. They would say things that were highly ignorant, highly Islamophobic. Indefinitely, it was very clear that from their standpoint, the Palestinians are what you said earlier, the Red Indians. The Palestinians are the bad guys. And of course, the Israelis and their genocidal Western backers are the good guys. So I would say there was a combination of abject racism and ignorance, but also questions from coming on high as they can coordinate the disbursement of their F-35s and F-16s to Kiev and to Tel Aviv and to Taiwan and to Guyana, where the CIA has an operation to overthrow the Bolivarian government of Venezuela. They can coordinate their hundreds of billions of dollars in genocidal and colonial and imperial movements. But if we dare to go to a press conference across the pond in London, we're the criminals. So when we say that this is an asymmetrical war, it's an asymmetrical media war as much as it's an asymmetrical military affair as well.
Now, Professor, this week marked not the first, not even the third, I think maybe the fifth American to be murdered by the Israelis, this time on the West Bank. The young student, if I'm not wrong, from your former university, though that may not be right, but a young American woman shot through the head, dead. Blinken have anything to say about that?
Not a peep. This was a young woman from the state of Washington. The mainstream corporate press continues to say a student of Turkish origins, trying to somehow distance her from her American citizenship. Not a peep out of Blinken. They were too busy crying, shedding their crocodile tears over the six hostages who there's ample proof that it was the Israeli themselves that went in guns ablaze and bombs ablaze and may have indeed murdered their quote unquote own people once again. So the media treatment here has been completely one-sided. That's why they're going after TikTok. They shut down when they doxed me. It's been quite a year. In addition to the detainment and being fired, I was doxed on October 20th. They took out my entire Twitter. This billionaire Zionist mafia harassed me and my family. They went after my place of employment. They made all of my co-workers, the other faculty at John Jay College, feel unsafe, and at no point did the security of the university or the NYPD lift a finger to help me or any of my colleagues who've been subjected to this harassment. So again, it's a completely one-sided affair that exposes the hypocrisy of this country that talks so much about our constitutional rights, but Americans want to know right now at these crucial periods with these issues of war and peace, which W.E.B. Du Bois called the most prolific and important issues of our age, where are the protections of our civil liberties? We have an election around the corner, 2 short months away. And I think this could be a factor in this election because Americans certainly cannot trust this government, Republican or a Democrat. They both stand squarely in defense and in the promotion of this genocide.
How can people follow you, Professor, and keep up with your work?
I'm at Prof. Danny Shaw. I put out a book. This is Genocide. I put this out back on February 1st. I've been in the world of Palestinian activism now for 3 decades, thanks to my mom, who put books and knowledge in my hands when I was a teenager. And for anyone who struggles for a better world, Palestine is a lightning rod. It's the clearest case of a David versus Goliath. And at this point, we never thought we would say this, but David versus a genocidal Goliath. So we hope that we can continue to make the connections between all these different causes around the world against imperialism and against colonialism with the Palestinian cause. It's clear that the Western governments are not going to stop this genocide. So it's incumbent upon us, it's our historical duty to stay in the streets, continue to advocate on social media, in the classroom, on the street corners, meeting with our families. So we look forward to doing that with everybody who's watching now.
Brilliant. Professor Daniel Shaw, thank you very much indeed for coming on for the first time, but not the last, I hope, the mother of all talk shows. Terrific, Professor Daniel Shaw.